You bought your seeds, you put the soil in a little transplant thingy, and then you stuck the seeds in the soil, and now you've been watering it and messing around and waiting for weeks, and you don't know if those seeds have germinated or if they rotted in the ground or what's going on. Have you been there? The challenge with getting any seed to germinate is that it has to have the right moisture and the right air and the right temperature for long enough for whatever mechanism activates in that seed to say, hey, it's time to grow, it's time to get going, right? If it's too wet, the seed will rot and you'll kill the seed. If it's too dry and the seed's already started germinating, the seed can die for lack of water. People mess around with heating pads. There's things that can go wrong with that. I'll talk about that later on the video. I want to show you a much easier way to do that whole process. And the process is, some people call this the baggie method, although I kind of use a container so I don't have to waste a bag in the process. But all you do is you put the seed between 2 layers of paper towel, put a little bit of water in there, like a teaspoonful, put the lid back on, and wait a week. Right, so I planted these March 20th, and I think it's the 29th today. I could have planted these 2 days ago, but I wanted to shoot this video, so I had to wait. You got to get a bit of time, bit of time to negotiate. Peppers, I mean, in my experience, I'm growing peppers here today. I'm going to start some other things too and show you this whole process. I find, in my experience, from putting them in the soil in a transplant tray and waiting for them to germinate, I've waited as many as 3 weeks. And there's been times I've put a heating pad underneath, and that's accelerated things a little bit. But every day you have to add a little bit of moisture to the soil. And then after a couple of weeks, because you're trying to water that top little bit of soil to get the seed to germinate, to make sure it's wet enough. And then you start getting all this nasty fungus on your soil and all that sort of stuff because you're keeping the top of your soil too wet. It's a real difficult thing to do, at least for me anyway. I have found this approach, which you can use any container or just plastic bag, is way easier, way easier. Because all you do is you put the seed in a container between 2 layers of paper, you stick it on the counter, and you wait. You don't do anything with it during that time. After about 4 or 5 days, you start looking and checking to see if there's any signs of germination, which I would say about on day 6, I started noticing the radicals poking out. I'll just show you what I got here. So you can see right over here how you can see the seed and you got the radical, right? These are ready to go in the ground, and they were ready to go in the ground a couple days ago. Okay, and I can't wait any longer. It's time to get these in the soil. Okay, so I mean, putting them in the soil is a very easy process, and I'll do the rest of this on camera. Let me bring the camera in here and I'll show you. All right, so I'll start over here. All you need to do is just muss the soil up a little bit, make a little tiny hole. Remember these peppers, you don't want to plant them too deep. So I'm going down maybe a 1/4 inch. What's that, like 1/2 centimeter, give or take? And then very carefully, gingerly, there, this one's come loose now. Try to get that out. You can use tweezers, but I find a toothpick's fine. So you see that's on the toothpick, right? Very carefully. If you haven't got the fine motor skills, get someone to help you, right? I leave them, I'm not putting the soil back yet because I'll forget which ones were planted and which ones weren't, because I'm a little absent-minded. There's a seed there that's a little bit too far along, so I'm going to pick one that's ready. One of these years I'm going to need glasses to do this. All right, that one's in there, right? And then you just put the soil back. I've already pre-wetted the soil. I've explained in other videos when you're doing transplants, you take fresh transplant soil. I'll show you the brand I've used for this. I got it from this show's sponsor, Vessi Seeds. If you take it right out of the bag, it's almost water repellent. So what I usually do is I put the transplant soil in a bowl and I add a few cups of warm water and I mix it with my hands, almost like you're making bread dough. And I keep squeezing it till it'll form a nice ball in my hand. And then I know it's really ready for transplanting. And also, I know this soil will accept water. If you have dry transplant cells, sometimes the water just speeds up and rolls right off of it, right? Let me just do one more here, make a little space. All right, stick them right in the middle. The advantage of this approach is that I know for sure that each of these trays has, well, it does not want to come out. Maybe if I tip it. Come on, man. Each of these I know that each one of these little, well, that just don't want to come out. It's like, oh, where'd it go? There it is. It's like, it's acting like Velcro. That does not want to come away. You know, if I use my hands. There we go, I'll just push it off like that. It's not cooperating because I'm on camera. There's one, there's another one right there. So the advantage of using this approach, and it doesn't matter that the radicle, the thing sticking out of the seeds isn't pointing straight down, it'll figure itself out, right? The advantage of this approach, one of the advantages anyway, is that I know for sure that each of these cells has a viable, live, growing seed. Now, I'll do the rest of this off camera, but once I'm done with all of this, I'll leave this on the counter somewhere. And even though things are less than ideal, these will still be around for a few weeks. So after a few weeks, if I notice one or two of these isn't coming up, I can pick one out of here. There should be one or two that are still usable. I can pick one or two out of here and stick it in one of these. If one of these just happens to die, because stuff happens with living things, right? I can pick one of these out of here and stick it in there and replace. And this thing here, this is just a dollar store seed tray. I like this one because it fits on my windowsill properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so 16. 16 peppers is all the peppers I'm gonna need. All the peppers I wanna deal with. Anyway, I'll do the rest of these off camera because I don't want to bore you to death with that, but it's not a very difficult process. To get this set up, I started these second last week of March, I guess, right? Now it's almost the end of March. And now I've got these basil and tomato. You know, I don't think starting them earlier than this makes any sense at all. So you don't need much water at all, just a teaspoon or so, you slosh that around, right? You want to put the water in before you add the seeds because it helps the seeds stick to the paper. Okay. Now I'll do this tomato, I guess. This is premio tomato. Supposed to be. I've been growing what's it called? Amish paste tomato for the last few years, and I'm just one of those people. I can't. Even if I've got the best thing in the world, I'm so drawn to novelty that I just have to try something new. I can't help it. So these are something new for sure. They're supposed to be a delicious tomato. They're supposed to be indeterminate in growth. And they're supposed to be resistant to a lot of different diseases. Mature in 68 days. We'll see how they go. I got a few seeds here, so I don't know. I know I'm going to need 16, so I'm going to put more than that in here, right? I usually kind of go for broke. This is a great thing to do if you're saving your seeds, because, you know, saved seeds tend to, not always, but I find my saved seeds don't have as good a viability as the store ones. You know, because you haven't grown them under ideal conditions, you haven't harvested them under ideal conditions. So what do I got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Not a lot of room for error there, but that's okay. All right, so there's my tomatoes. Measure that off a little bit. Put that on top. That's not much water, right? I'm going to put a teensy-wincy bit more there. You don't want to flood this. You want wet paper. You don't want water in there. That is to say, you don't want pools of water. You want enough water to wet the paper. The other advantage with these types of containers is that they have a high point. So if there is excess water, it'll go down into these little channels. right? So you're not going to drown your seed. If you put all the seeds on the high point, you see there's a little indentation there, right? So you put all the seeds on the high point and have none in the channels, then you won't drown them. That is to say, you won't give them so much water that they can't breathe. Seeds, just like people, they need air to breathe. Okay, so that one is ready. This is nice, clean, fresh one. It's gone through the dishwasher, right? Not going to get any mold or, it's relatively sterile, so not going to get any mold or nastiness in there. All right, so that's my tomatoes done. I should put a mark on that. Always mark your stuff because you will forget what you've done, and or your spouse or kids will throw them out or throw it all into the compost because they don't know what you're doing. Tomato. Okay, that one's ready. All I got to do is leave it out on the counter for about a week, and then I can start sticking those in the ground, or sticking them in the, the transplant tray. Okay, so now we'll do the basil. Basil is a very tiny seed, right? So, a little bit tedious, but not undoable. That's probably good enough there. Get a little bit of excess water, I just pour that right back in. Piece of cake. Now we got our basil here. 16 basil plants is not enough, but we have tons of seeds here, way more than tomato. I'll just throw them in like this. Now this is going to be a tedious job getting the germinated basil seed into a little pack, but and I'll probably need my reading glasses to do it. I'm 51, but anyway, the main thing is that it's a really easy way to get things. I got a lot of seeds left here. This must have a couple hundred seeds in it. Right now I just put the other piece on top, and you're just doing this. I mean, all you're doing is tricking the seed and the thing it's been planted in the soil, right? But this is much easier than using heating pads and all this sort of stuff. I mean, all these heat-loving plants, they'll germinate just fine at room temperature, right? 68 Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius. They'll germinate just fine at that temperature. So there's really no advantage to a heating pad. And if you know anything about putting heating pads under transplant trays, you want to remove them as soon as you see your plants germinate anyway, because too much heat it just messes up the way the plant. In nature, plants, the ground is usually not hot all the way down, so it can mess up the growing patterns. Got a little excess water there, just going to pour it off. There we go. That's fine. Okay, I'll put the lid on that. Now you notice I'm closing these tight, okay? And you're going to say, wait a minute, there's not enough air in that container. There's plenty of air in that container. This is not like I haven't got a mouse in here, a hamster, right? Basil. These don't need a lot of air. The air that's in this container that I've sealed is just fine, right? So now these tomatoes and these basil are going to have all the air and just the right moisture and just the right temperature to germinate. And then I just put them in there, right? One of the reasons this works, I mean, when you're moving germinated seeds around, there's a concern about mussing up the fine root hairs on the seed. But when a seed first just puts out that little radicle, that little thing that sticks out of the seed, there really aren't, if you time it properly, there's not a lot of fine root hairs. So the seed can adapt and adjust to the changing conditions very easily. So it's not a challenge. I fully expect all the seeds I put in that tray to take root and work out just fine. Anyway, that's how I do it. It's really not a big complicated process. Using this approach to getting transplants started and just putting them in my south-facing window, I found it's just made the whole game a lot easier for me. And there's none of this guessing about whether your seeds have germinated or not, or what's going on. You start, after about X number of days, you start picking around to see if they're growing. You don't know what's going on. There's all this uncertainty. With this approach, you know that every seed that's in every cell is viable, has germinated, and is very likely to poke up through the soil, in a week or so, right? Hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, maybe give us a try. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey, do you like getting free shipping? Then go to vessies.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year and use my coupon code GAVS24 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Vessies. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and you like free shipping, and they sell something you need, buy it from them, use my coupon code. Happy gardening!